Today we are here with Tobias, great entrepreneur, social media creator, and of course, floorball player too. Tobias, can you please kind of describe briefly your career?
Awesome, thank you. It's a very broad question because I started with sports when I was a kid, started playing golf and floorball when I was 5 years old, and I think my competitive edge from sports in general converted into this kind of sales personality, business kind of personality. Always wanted to be a influencer or YouTuber growing up, and then later on when I combined it with business, it made a lot of sense because the more eyeballs you can make see your businesses, the more sales you're going to make. So it kind of ended up combining everything. So still doing sports. I think it's a lot of fun. Not doing it professionally. Never have been. Was the goal for a long time. Got an invitation from abroad to try to test their team, but that was in a period of injuries and a lot of things, as every other sportsman says. But it was a blessing because then my businesses was booming while I was not able to play as much, and then yeah, it went very good.
So, would you say sport helped you in your entrepreneurship career with, I don't know, maybe contacts, networking, etc., or did it shape you as a like goal-oriented person, I guess?
Yeah, I think mostly like personality traits. I believe when it comes to having the competitive edge and you want to win and everything, like a lot of people ask me why I'm inspired to work so hard. And I don't really know exactly what I want to make. Like I have my vision board, I have my goal card with like my goals on it, right?
Mhm.
But to be honest, it's still more just the feeling of accomplishment. And I think that actually comes from sports, most likely. Just the feeling of progress, and then you don't really chase the final destination, you chase the progress and you like the journey. I think that's a good personality trait to get from the sports in general, because you know when you become good you can always become better, and that's the same in every aspect of life, I believe.
Can you please tell us more about your goal card? Is it something you have always with you on your phone, or how does it work?
Yeah. So for from my background, I had a mentor, and his personal mentor, his name was Bob Proctor. Is probably the person on earth that knows or knew the most about personal development. He's not longer with us, but he states that if you have a paper around with you in your wallet, in your pocket, and you really write down your goal and you read it as often you can, it certainly must happen, because you put yourself and your body in a frequency of thinking that you already have it, and the second you already know that you have something, the universe must serve it. So again, I'm not a really spiritual guy at all, but when it comes to personal development, like a lot of successful people practice the exact same thing. Like if you look at interviews with like big sports stars, if you see how Cristiano Ronaldo visualizes before a free kick, or if you see Conor McGregor on an interview calling exactly how he will do a knockout after 7 seconds, this and that with his right knee, like it's a lot of things in the past. You can see people really attracting their success, and they really speak about it in interviews before and after, and you can really connect the dots. Like I'm not spiritual at all, and I don't believe that anything will happen if you sit down and meditate, but I believe if you can sort your thoughts and then take action with sorted thoughts, I believe it's better than just sitting there and do nothing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I just wanted to say visualization, in sports is a big thing. So, and in golf, you said you played golf. So I guess that's something, you practice throughout your sports career and now you can just transform it.
Yeah, definitely. Like every single golf shot, you usually close your eyes and you see where the ball wants to go, right? And you realize it because the second you get like your You just get like in your head, you just see like, oh shit, I hope I don't hit the water, I hope I don't go into the forest. You really often do it instead of focusing on where you want to go,
Mhm.
right? Same with floorball as well. I've been a penalty shooter for many years,
Mhm.
and that as well, like when you close your eyes, like you know the entire audience is sitting and only watching you. It's really important to focus on the ball will end up in the goal, and that's like in your thought process, while of course you have some technique on what you're how you're going to get the ball there, but you can't really focus on the goalkeeper because then you're most likely going to hit the goalkeeper, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's important to focus on the right things and not the wrong things because you're going to attract what you think about.
Oh yeah, that's really cool that you mentioned that, because I feel like when you are, alone on the court and you have to really perform, then there is a lot of pressure on you. So do you think it
Yeah.
helps you even now with decision making? Maybe that pressure, how to kind of work with in stressful situations, I guess. Does that work?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe everyone that you ever speak to that have been in very stressful situations or very disastrous situations, like let's say you have lost a family member, for example, and you have something in your day that you realize, it's not so bad, like I've experienced worse. I think it's the same feeling when it comes to stress. Like, I remember this situation. This was like 100 times worse than what was on my plate today. So today was kind of simple,
Mhm.
right? So I believe it gives you perspective for sure. Yeah, it gives you perspective.
Yeah. And can you please walk us through your kind of decision making, or the moment you decided to be an entrepreneur? Was there like a moment that it clicked and you were like, "Oh, let's be entrepreneur," or was it like a journey, let's say?
I think it's definitely a journey. I believe the first ever time I kind of really got like a eye opener from my own stuff, not other people telling me or just finding some content, whatever. I believe like when I was selling newspapers when I was a kid, when I was
Mhm.
13, you were making like $1, €1 per newspaper that you sold. You went around the neighborhood, and then at home at that time, I got like some weeks I got like €5 to do some stuff in the house. And one day at work selling newspapers, I got handed $5 in tips from this one lady at the same house every single round I did. She was giving me $5 or €5 every single time I was there. So I realized that if I go with the newspapers for 10 minutes on a Saturday, I'll make the same amount as I do for doing the dishes for a week, for example, right? So I realized that 10 minutes somewhere can give you more than a week somewhere else. And
Mhm.
I believe that I never really forgot it because today as well, like I realized that if you're changing your time for money without having any like long-term perspective on it, it's really it's really not worth it because at the end of the day, like I spent some time in conversations with people and trying to really open their eyes for it, and I always ask them one thing. I ask them, if you now could exchange the next 365 days for your yearly salary, like
Mhm.
if you do like this, you lose 365 days of your life, but you exchange it of the money that you would get from working 365 days. Would you do it? Right? And then 99% of people say, no, I would probably not do it.
Mhm.
And then why you're working in that current job? Like
Mhm.
I understand that people need the money, but then maybe try at least to search for like 10, 15, 20 different jobs or try to get promoted or talk to your boss if you can get like a higher wage or start a side income, a side business, a side hustle, you know?
Mhm.
A lot of people complain without having the right to complain because they haven't really explored.
Mhm. Mhm. And how do you view kind of the riskiness of the business?
Like business in general or
Business in general, but your business kind of, there is a lot of uncertainties along the way of the business. So how do you, I guess, approach these risks you have to take sometimes?
Yeah, so for me, I really look at it as a math question. Like if you have if you have your math question with the more risk you take, the bigger the outcome are allowed to be. I look at it in that way because if you don't take any risk, I have the mindset of if I didn't take any risk, I don't deserve the outcome or potential outcome. Because if I really want to accomplish something, I know that behind that accomplishment, it is a lot of sacrifice. And the real only sacrifice you can do is taking risks. Because to be honest, a sacrifice isn't really made before it is risk involved, because it's no sacrifice to just show up a little bit. It's just like that. That's how most people do it. So again, I like risk. I think it's important. I think everyone should do it. And you also, by taking more risk, of course, not in the stupid, uneducated way, you don't do like a credit card and you max it out because risk is good for you and you don't know how to pay it down, right? But you have to actually really think about the more risk you take in the good way or in the upside potential, you get a bigger risk tolerance, which means that you will take more risk in the future, which can potentially reach to higher rewards. But when it comes to our businesses, we're usually on the side of the table where we are not taking too much risk. It's usually calculated profits before stuff even happens. It's like based on experience from the past, we know that this is going to do well and so on, so on. So like we try to calculate as low risk as possible. It's not, you don't want to overexpose your risk. That's not the point of taking risk. It's about, yeah, knowing that you have to take some.
Hmm. And when you say that you should not take, uneducated kind of decision, um, were there some communities that helped you, or were there some good resources, or did you have to literally build that from scratch?
I think like from the beginning I built it from scratch. Like I found one thing that I was good at, and then I just did it more and more and more because you realize that almost every single thing you do as a side hustle, it can be scalable.
Hmm.
Like if you realize, let's say you want to sell like iPhones, right? You want to sell iPhones on the internet
Hmm.
and you sell one and you make $50 or you make $100, you realize that if you would do it 10 times, you would make 10 times as much. And then you really realize that you can always do like that. So for me, I realized that really young. Like I started flipping thing, reselling clothes and everything when I was 14, 15, got into affiliate marketing when I was 16. And that's when I kind of started to watch YouTube for the first time, because today people are downloading TikTok for the first time when they're really young and they see like potential or they see business opportunities in front of them, or they see supercars, for example. I didn't know what a supercar was before I was probably 17, 18, right? So it's like I believe a lot in the beginning was trial and error, and then I got into the loop of like YouTube, which like if you watch 10 videos, one of them will be really good usually. And then I got myself my first mentor when I was like 18, and the way I got it, I just took like some phone calls to like people on LinkedIn and Facebook and
Hmm.
just asked like I like your lifestyle, what do you do? And then eventually I got introduced to a couple of different industries, which led me into a different kind of industries, which left me into a niche, which I currently do today. So it's like I think you just have to walk the walk because you don't know where you end up, so you can't really predict where you should start. The most important is to just start.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I feel like a lot of people are trying to use YouTube University, in a way.
Yeah.
But definitely connecting with LinkedIn, people on LinkedIn, and reaching out never hurt anyone. So that's really good advice. Before we end here, I mean, when I was reaching out to you, I mentioned success, and you were like, "Oh, I'm not, I don't feel successful yet," in a way. So how do you view success, or what does success mean to you?
I believe the boundaries will always get pushed. Like it's a really like a viral trend on social media, which is like be more proud of yourself. The person 3 years ago would be really happy to be in your position today. But at the end of the day, you could always do much, much better. Like I learned about compressing time frames when I was really young. Like I watched a video about it. Like if you work 3 times as hard, you can accomplish things 3 times as fast. So one thing that some people use 3 years on, you can use 1 year on. And if you're really good, you can even do it in 3 months, what other people does in 3 years, right? So for me to feel successful, I believe first of all I have to, like now I'm surrounding myself with people that are making much more money, doing much better, are much more fit, are traveling much more. Like if you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room, as many people say. And I'm really, really glad to have good people around me. But that also tells me that I'm not even close to what I want to achieve, right? So when you ask that question, like I'm going to interview someone, it's always good with a disclaimer. I don't feel ultra successful. I haven't made even my first million yet, right? In euros and dollars,
Hmm.
but I'm also 22. So it's all about perspective that if you're on the path of becoming successful and you're wise, you're reading books, you're doing the right things, you can still be an interesting individual to speak to or be mentored by, but you shouldn't be too cocky and you should dig down your ego because you're really not far at all. But it's really interesting to speak to even 40, 50 year olds taking advice today because they know that the young people, they are the future. So they're really curious about it.
Hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and good luck with all your goals.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.